Good morning, everybody. Firstly, I would like to thank you for your participation here. Everybody that is here, you're all partners and companies with which Ibema identifies with. Also, we have our collaborators from Ibema participating in this live. All of them, they are part of this important moment, which is the launch of the new Supera White. The protagonism is a word that increasingly is part of our vocabulary. This launch is a huge step towards this direction for Ibema. Those of you who don't know me, I am Diego Gracia, Strategy and Marketing Manager at Ibema. This event will be simple, fast, practical, easy for you. It has an important conceptual value for Ibema. It is the launch of a product that together with it aims to strengthen our brand in terms of productivity and quality. And it's also a huge step for the internationalization of the brand. Most of you know us. Those of you that don't know us, it is a pleasure to know you. We are Ibema, the greatest paper board industry in Brazil, and we are in the fifth largest in Brazil in Latin America. So everybody is a little saturated with all the lives we're having every day. So this is going to be a very fast conversation, and we aim to introduce you to the product. We're going to show you a video, and then we're going to have a more technical presentation so that you can see some details. And also, in order to enrich our event and make it even more productive for you who are watching us, we have people from Brazil and abroad watching us. After the presentation of the product, we're going to have Christian. This is a man with an extensive curricula. So I'm not going to talk about him twice. He is going to talk about the political and economic environment of Brazil. Also, we have the participation of important leaders of Ibema. Together with us is Newton, our CEO, Fernando Sandri, our R&D director, Júlio Guimarães, also, and Christian, as I said, is a huge political science, is a very important political scientist in Brazil. And then afterwards, we're going to talk about him. So I will say, during the whole live, you're going to have available to you a part where a field where you can ask your questions directed towards the people who are going to make the presentation. And at the end, after Christian speaks, we're going to do a round of questions and answers, around 10 minutes. So basically, without much more delay, I would like to give the floor for our commercial director, Júlio Guimarães. You have the floor, Júlio. Good morning, everybody. Our direct clients, graphic houses, distributors, the indirect clients also, guests for the event, the press, and all the Ibema team present. This is an important moment. A lot of uncertainties generated because of the pandemic. So here we have had to live with two important words every day. One, social distancing, and which is the new normal. Everybody is tired of having to listen to this, but still it's even more relevant for our supply chain, for society as a whole in such a moment such as this. We at Ibema, this is a very important day. We are enthusiastic and we really are very excited about the launch of Supera White. It is aligned with what Diego said, which is our two main objectives, which is to reinforce the protagonism that we have in the Brazilian market, to our share in the market, and also to bring more relevance to Ibema in the international scenario. We want to be acknowledged by you with as offering a product of global quality. So what I want to say, three main topics. One, to talk about the structure of the management of the company. Ibema is a family management company. And from 2015, and from there on, we've been going through an intensive professionalization process. We have the administration, which has contributed so that we can have an increasing relevance in these international scenarios. In order for you to have an idea, in 2019, we had we were present in another 9 countries in the world. And our first semester in 2020, here we expect to close the semester with 18 countries. So these are the number of countries in a scenario of about a year and a half. And the second thing I would like to say to you, which I think is very important, is our core business. We at Ibema, essentially, we want for solutions for the packaging chain. So here we have one of our main strong points is the issue of our portfolio. There we have high performance product in the virgin fiber segment, which is the objective of launch today. And also we've had important launches in terms of innovation, in terms of recycled fiber, where, for example, our products have an important representativeness, which is post-consumption market. So we have a huge development so that we can have solid residue in waste, and also we just transform this into a product for the markets. And another point I want to say to you, to share with you, and here I'm going to give you a spoiler, but I don't want to I will talk about the Ibema positioning. Here we're at the last moment of the launch of our launch, and we're going to have a manifesto and also a new visual identity. And this, more than the paperboard industry, we're going to challenge ourselves in order to be able to see what we can awaken in terms of the consumer when they open the packaging of a product. Because this way, we believe that with the 2 chains here, with the 2 links of the chain, we can offer more innovation, which can put our business in a higher level. So we're going to focus in some characteristics that we believe that we already have and we can still allow for, which is to come closer to the links of the chain and also to have a better alien with all the links of our chain. So what I want to say to you, please provoke us. Please give us the opportunity for innovation so that we can, together with you, develop and offer, improve this everything that we're doing. So to finish my presentation here, I know we're all in a very privileged segment. And also what we have is the use of products coming from renewable sources, paperboard. And I believe that with a very well done work in the whole chain, we are going to be able to attain high levels of recycling, which will place us in the new normal as a great differential. And the new consumption expectation will potentialize sustainability. So I would like to thank you for your presence, and I go back and give the floor to Diego Gracia. Thank you very much, Julio. I didn't know about your spoiler, but as the marketing area, I like spoilers because we can start provoking people a bit so that people can know very soon we are going to have a new, it show you the wonderful work we're doing. So lastly, once again, without any more delay, we're going to talk about Supera White, which is the great subject today, together with a social, political, and economic analysis by Christian. We're going to start showing you a video of the product, and then afterwards, I'm going to make a presentation showing you some technical elements with regards to Supera White and examples of its application. So now you can see the video. So that you can...
If you can walk, run. If you can jump, fly. If you can exist, live. We learned that if it's possible to do more, it's possible to go further. With Speciality, Ibema won recognition, great partners, and outstanding business. This time, Ibema will make history. With our latest product, Ibema Supera White was created to serve and meet an increasingly demanding market. The new GC1 Triplex from Ibema is a white paperboard of the highest performance and stiffness. Its formula allows better performance in machinery for the creation of packaging in the pharmaceutical, cosmetic, and other premium packaging segments. This premium solution, within the highest global levels of quality, is a novelty ready to further enhance packing worldwide. Ibema Supera White has arrived to forge a remarkable impression at the four corners of the world.
Okay, so now I'm going to share with you the presentation. Now that you know what Supera White is, some of you have received, or very soon will receive, the samples of this product, some mock-ups. Some of you can see examples of its application here on the screen. We are going to talk about the physical characteristics of the product and its positioning. The new Ibema Supera White is a high-performance, global-level product. You will see this word a lot here, global. It's a premium solution within the highest global levels of quality, a new novelty that is ready to further enhance packaging worldwide. We believe, and we're going to show you this, the characteristics of this product are among the very best in the world in terms of stiffness and performance. The new GC1 Folding boxboard from Ibema, people know that this term GC1 is the European classification for a paperboard with this fiber composition. It is a very high performance and stiffness white paperboard. So you can see in terms of its coating, we have the double coating part, and then we have the bleached cellulose fiber, and then we have the high yield fiber, and the last layer, which is the bleached cellulose fiber. It goes from 190 to 340 grams. Some grammages are specific for the foreign market, the exportation market. And specifically, when we developed this, we elaborated this reasoning with regards to the development of the product together with some peoples abroad that know this. And the American market, there is a trend for this type of paperboard. So some grammages are specific for the international market. Its formula allows a better performance in machines for the creation of packaging in the pharmaceutical, cosmetic, and premium packaging. So here we can see some applications, some mock-ups already with. So, this has been more worked. For example, there's more elaborated cosmetics. We have a mock-up for skincare products and also a sunscreen mock-up. So here we have some more technical specs of the product. Some technical. It goes from 190 grams to 340 technical specs. I'll show you the minimum stiffness and nominal stiffness. For some time, Ibema had decided to communicate only the minimum stiffness, but now we're also going to show you the nominal stiffness. And with regards to thickness, we go all the way from 12 points to 24.9. So obviously, this will be given to you. You're going to have this, and after the launch, we're going to have this in our site too. This is a very interesting chart good practices says not to have so many lines in this chart, but we wanted to show you more references so that you can understand where this new paperboard is positioned. So in yellow, the yellow line is this chart talks about the, the quadratic stiffness. So yellow is Supera white. The orange line, mixed with many other lines, is the Speciale. So here you can understand the benefits that we can extract from Supera white vis-a-vis the other products. We have grammages. Some grammages we're going to be able to migrate all the way to 20 grams. Yield sometimes is over 8% than what Speciale was. Together here, also you have a chart, the competition, the competitors, 1, 2, 3, and 4. These very consolidated brands in the market, in the Latin American market, and also here we have 2 very strong European clients. Some of the best, most acknowledged companies in the world. So the positioning of Supera White certainly offers a competitiveness, and the end user can explore very well. So here we have another a table here with all the information. Our consultants and executives, they have this information, and they will share this with you so that you can understand the product. And here, I would like to talk about the transition, how it's going to happen, because Supera White has come to substitute the Speciale. It's been in the market for 10 years. It's very consolidated in our portfolio, but we understood that it was lagging in terms of characteristics, and it certainly made sense to promote this change. Together with this change, obviously, it is very clear for you that we're using the Supera brand, which is our GC2. It's an extremely consolidated brand and acknowledged in its category. And today, it's our main product in the foreign and exportation market. We aim to simplify our portfolio. So the idea is to offer you the concept of the Supera White as GC1, which is a new portfolio structure that we're offering in the market. We understood that our portfolio could be a little confusing, so now we're trying to work to simplify everything. With regard to the transition period, so we're going to have both products coexisting together for 4 months. So we're going to have the productions of both products, June, July, August, September. So here you're going to be able to produce Supera White and Speciale in terms of all its grammages. And in October, we are not going to produce Speciale anymore. And we're going to do a last production in November, because there is to be able to meet some remaining accounts, the needs of some remaining accounts. So we have 6 months to promote this homologation process or substitution process. We know that some development pipelines and users can be a little slower here. Starting from December, and then obviously all of 2021, we will not go back to Speciale. We will only be offering Supera White. Okay? So in terms of the presentation, that's it. And now I would like to give the floor to talk to us, Fernando Sandri, our R&D director. And Fernando is going to talk about the planning of this project, how R&D acquired the most important role in Ibema in terms of innovation and trends. So now, Sandri, you have the floor. Good morning, everybody. My name is Fernando Sandri, R&D director at Ibema. And when we received the demand of the marketing team to consider this new product, we noticed that we had a huge challenge here, but we integrated all the sectors of Ibema. We all go for solutions so that we can attain the established objectives. And in 6 months, we did a briefing, we planned a project, we went for sources of material, and 28th June last year, we did the first production of 300 grams. And when you saw the first paper boards, they were very, very good. They were wonderful. The result was wonderful. So the product emerged with very positive results, and the team was enthusiastic with the product, and we were able to consolidate all the grammages, all the productive process, so that we could have the promised results, offer the promised results, and then the setting up of the packaging, the final use, the samples that Diego showed us. So we noticed that Ibema was already making history here with this new level of demand. But we managed to do this because we have a very focused team. Ibema invested strongly in its R&D team. They're a very talented team together with the other areas of the company. And this was fundamental so that we could work together with the commercial area, the marketing area, considering the demands of the clients, what was necessary here. And here we were able to have success in terms of this product. The product is in keeping with our general plan. We know that society demands packagings to continually evolve. We need to evolve with the product. So there is a huge terms of demand in terms of grammage reduction, weight of the packaging. We know that this is a task that is very important. And here we can reduce its grammage because of its increase in stiffness. And it's also in line with the demand of society, which leads to us having an adequate portfolio here. We also know that forest orange products has a strong advantage because we have renewable side mitigate. So we're going for solutions for this, which are very strong challenges, and we're focused in giving strong responses here. However, summarizing everything, I want to say that this is a strong line. We're here at this moment, and I would like to give the floor back to Diego. Thank you very much, Sandri. You talk about the R&D team, and there is I would like to acknowledge Augusto Arndt, our R&D manager, together with all the team. He was going to be with us here. Sandri came to represent the whole team, but I'd like to acknowledge Augusto and all the work developed here. We had to say this. Now, to reinforce, before I give the floor to Newton, our CEO, I would like to stress the fact that questions will be available during the conversation, specifically during the Christian's presentation. And at the end, we're going to answer some questions. So please, so to close our part and now give the part to Christian, I would like to give the floor to Newton. Newton is our CEO. So you have the floor. Good morning, everybody. My name is Newton Saraiva. Most of you know me. I am here I've been at Ibema since 2017. Thank you very much for your participation here and your attention here, which is very important for us at Ibema. Most of you have been asking, I'm sure, is the same question I have been asking myself some weeks ago. Why launch a new product in amidst a pandemic, and such an important economic crisis, perhaps the greatest economic crisis in the last 100 years. In spite of everything, we have to look forward. We can't have this crisis and just stand still. Ibema believes in the role of courage, and we're going to continue. We're going to go on. In the last 3 months, I have participated in crisis committees every day. We have always given priority to the safety and the security of our collaborators, suppliers, and clients. We are part of an essential production chain, and we can't stop. The chains we are part, the supply chains, pharmaceuticals, cleaning, they have always needed packages, need more and more nowadays. So this, the whole thing is a consequence of our crisis management. That's why we decided to continue with a strong investment in R&D and marketing. R&D almost doubled. We doubled our investment in R&D in the last 12 months, and we are very happy with this decision. With all of these reflections in mind, the question why the launch became why not launch? That's why we're here. We're very happy and proud to launch a world-class product, which will reinforce our commitment and our image in terms of quality and global presence. Lastly, I would like to say that we believe in the resilience, the strength of our country. We are sure that we're going to go through this crisis, one more crisis, with new lessons learned. Brazil is not a country for amateurs, or you can be sure of this. We do love our country, but even so, even though it's an unconditional love. I am proud to be here with you, launching Supera White. I am sure that Councillor Ney Martins is very proud of what we're doing at Ibema and the continuity we're giving to the work he began. It was during his management, his administration, that Supera emerged, and I'm very proud to give this continue with this new step. Before giving the floor back to Diego and give the floor to Christian, I would like to thank each one of our collaborators for the effort and dedication in the last 2-3 months. It wasn't easy, but we're here. And if it wasn't the effort of everybody, we would not be here preparing ourselves for the next phase. Thank you very much. Diego, now I give you back the floor. Thank you very much, Newton. So you couldn't have made a better conclusion for this our presentation here. So now we're going to introduce you to Christian. You will see Christian's bio in your screens. I'm going to summarize it. And would like to say that he holds doctorate degrees in political science from the University of São Paulo. And today he is the VP of corporate life. And he certainly knows agribusiness. He's an expert. And specifically with regards to the moment we're going through, it is very good to hear the words that Christian has to say. Christian, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Diego. Good morning, everybody. I would like to greet Newton and also greet all the Ibema professionals and all the participants, collaborators, suppliers, the partners and clients at Ibema. And I would like to say that the friends at Ibema invited me to tell you a little bit about the perspectives, political, economic perspectives in Brazil. Perhaps to see what's going to happen after this different moment, with regards to pandemia, the pandemic in our families and our friends and companies. It's a a difficult task. But when we are in situations such as this, and this is not the first one that we have had to confront, we have to distance ourselves a bit, consider the structural perspective, try to find explanations that will comfort us, that will help us confront all the challenges. And this is what I prepared here, something very colloquial and direct, informal, uh, a half an hour presentation to see whether we can show you some guidelines so we know how to confront the challenges of politics, economy, and the entrepreneurial environment. This is a very important moment for Ibema. You have the launch of Supera White, which is an important moment for the company, and it's here showing giving us an example as to what we should do when we have difficulties. We have to continue working. We have to launch the product and we have to confront the market. And in terms of Ibema, begin an exportation path, extend all exportation, broaden exportation because we should all try to do this. We can't give up. To begin our presentation, it's important to say first, a political comment. Brazilian had general elections in 2018. We have a new government. It is not a simple government to interpret. It is a rupture it's disruption after several governments with different orientations ever since 2003, Lula's elections, all the way to 2010. And now we had a change, a complete turnover. It is not a trivial government, a very organized government. The president has a difficult style to deal with, but we can say that the government has very positive aspects. There is part of the government which is very efficient. I would say that the finance ministry, the economic in all its division secretariats, they were doing a very good work. And I would say they continue doing a good work after the pandemic. I would say agriculture is also doing very good work. The ministry, infrastructure ministry is doing good work. Mines and energy is doing good work. So there are very positive aspects to evaluate in terms of daily politics. However, there are many products we read in the newspapers every day, threats, comments. In terms of an institutional crisis, I don't see an institutional crisis in terms of a rupture of the regime. I don't think there's going to be a renouncement or any type of impeachment. I think that what we're going through all the confrontations between the powers, which is natural in modern democracies. Obviously, one or another person might say that one branch or one power is exaggerating. Today, the judiciary branch has taken decisions that can be contested in terms of institutional attributions. Also, with the legislative branch, the executive branch has difficulties in articulating itself with the other branches. This is a fact, but I don't see this something as negative. I think that when we look from outside, we are maturing. It is an institutional maturing. It's a young democracy, a new government, difficulties in building parliamentary basis, but that's how things happen. I don't believe that all these news we see every day should contaminate our evaluations in terms of a structural point of view. There will be no rupture in Brazil, no disruption. Although I don't have a crystal ball, I believe that this government will finish its mandate in 2022. We're going to have general elections in 2022. And through institutions, democratic institutions, Brazil will have to choose its destiny in 2022. 2020 is elections. We're going to have elections here for local governments. There's going to be a delay here. I think elections will be in December, but it will generate local governments, representatives, city representatives, albino structure. I have been in the last 20 years in the corridors of Brasilia, regulatory agencies, several institutions, and I would say those people that go go and see all these different scales of the government, these different departments, things have improved. Public administration is difficult in Brazil, but things have improved a lot. In spite of all the discourses, there is a positive change in terms of the state structures. With regards to economy, I think this impacts even more our daily life, although we have a strong challenge. The challenge is universal. The whole world is going already, rather, has been confronting economic stagnation, paralyzation, let's say. The main nations will have a reduction of the GDP growth. One calculates for Brazil, still with some variation, one calculates a drop in the GDP of 7% in 2020. But this will happen all over the world. And it's a new experience. One has never experienced this at a normal moment. You see this in world wars, but not in normal moments. So this whole thing is different. Brazil is the same. Brazil will have a reduction of 7% of GDP growth. And this has a direct impact in all of our lives. What is important to stress is that Brazil is a very large country with everything. Brazil is huge, the territory is huge, the population is very large, production capacity, everything developed in Brazil, everything is very big and large, and the problems are the same, are likewise. The problems are huge, and we have to deal with this reality. Our numbers are always very large, and the pandemic has shown us that in spite of all the efforts, the result, the impact of the pandemic is huge for society, affected by the virus and also by the paralyzation of the economy. And Brazil is also a very young country. So if we compare Brazil with a series of other countries in the world, with millennial countries that have millennial history like India, China, but the Americas in the 20th century, when compared to development of other nations, Brazil is the country that most was developed during the whole century. Second place is Japan. So here, the comparisons, what countries were in terms of production, wealth, and structure in 1900, and what they became in the year 2000. So in the second millennium. So Brazil is the one that was most developed. And I'm saying this because the country went through all kinds of confrontations, 2 wars. The whole world experienced this. It went through a dictatorship process, authoritarianism in the 60s and 70s, positive growth, and then huge fiscal crisis and financial crisis in the 80s, hyperinflation. In the 90s, there were 5 international financial crises that impacted our path: Korea crisis, Russian crisis, .com, 9/11, and the Mexican crisis, all of them in one decade. And then afterwards, it had to confront a government. I'm not going to talk about this too much with regards to politics here, but there was a huge, it was very euphoric government injecting public resources in the economy, but it did use the international opportunities that presented themselves so that they could put the house in order. And then afterwards, we had a huge crisis in 2016. We had less 3.5% growth twice. So for a country such as Brazil, it is very amazing. And we're here, we're alive. And so Why am I saying all of this? Because the message is this: Brazil is alive. Brazil has the capacity of confronting, of facing all kinds of adversities and remaining apt to recover its activity. And what's happening today and in these last months, we have seen this agribusiness in Brazil remains working in a very competent way, competitive way. In March, the government decreed the essentiality of agricultural business, the agribusiness chain, and you can see what's happening this first uh, semester. Brazil, with one or another drop in expectation, they maintain the production of food, the supply of Brazilian people, and also exportations, and even increased exportation in some cases. We're talking here about many products, obviously soybean, corn, coffee, orange juice, cotton, and meat, animal protein. So Brazil is still producing and exporting for the world, to the world. And this gives us comfort because we're talking about a product that indirectly is linked to agribusiness. So the production of paper and pulp comes from planted forests. This activity grows in Brazil all the time, highly qualified, high technology, and this universe of paper and pulp and packagings, everything we've been talking about here, is part of this agribusiness business. It here we have resources, jobs being generated because of this. And we have to consider this because many countries, neighboring countries, they don't have this condition. So it's as though we were living in another country. If I, you know, and this is not the case of Brazil. I think this is very important to register that we are doing well here because of daily news, we became very, very disanimated, and it shouldn't be so. We have a lot of conditions to adapt ourselves to, adapt to all these adverse conditions that impact our lives. I was referring to the Brazilian growth and agri, agribusiness. They have brought us a lot of income, guaranteed part of Brazilian jobs, and the whole chain is a symbol of Brazilian vocation. Ibema is part of this group of companies that is part of this group of chain in agribusiness. All the companies, all services and business linked to the production of food. And this is the Brazilian vocation. I am sure this has always been so. People that look at Brazil, what Brazil was in the 1950s, it was a coffee plantation. In 73, Brazil still had only had 50% of its exportation, which was coffee. And look what happened in this country in the last 40, 50 years, a true transformation. Obviously, there are many social problems to be solved. You have the problem of corruption, education, social differences, regional differences. I don't want not to consider all of these challenges we have to confront in Brazil, but I want to show you specifically the international partners watching us here in this live. I would like to say that all companies, all international groups that came to Brazil in the last 100 years, practically all these groups remained in the country, aware of the fact, sometimes amazed with all the adversities, all the problems, the complexity of the country, our bureaucracy, our idiosyncrasies. They came here and they made a lot of money. It's not going to be different now. The company came to affect all the economies of the world, but Brazil will know how to re to deal with these uh, new conditions, the new normal. It will know how to be able to deal with this. We are doing this in a remote manner, which has become a daily thing. We never imagined this 4 months ago. And we're all here together working, making things work, exchanging information, producing intelligence, and also launching new products. So Brazil certainly is capable of doing this. And I would say it's very important for people abroad and are concerned with the destination of the country. This is one more adversity that Brazil is confronting. One more. In 120 years of republic. And we are going to be able to overcome this. There is a lot of complaints, many comments in the international world with regards to the Brazilian performance, with regards to sustainability in the environment. I would not say we have to concern ourselves too much with this. Brazil is a country that still today in 2020, 67% of its territory is exactly the same as when Brazil was discovered. You can see from satellite photos, it's scientific data from NASA. So we have a huge amount of territory preserved. We use 70.8% of our territory to produce food. We still have 90 million hectares within the rules of the game, within Brazilian law, to concern ourselves with the production of food, which leads to Brazilian wealth. And we have a democracy, we have institutions, and enhancing themselves. And so when people consider this every day, they are feel it, that all the huge instability. But when we look, we see that we have 30 years of constitution with all the flaws. The constitution is being applied. All the reforms will be done within the Brazilian laws. So the world still understands very little about Brazil in terms of production, the challenges, the capacity that the Brazilians have of transforming things, and public policies applied by the different governments. Very few people understand Brazil, but we here understand this. And we're not going to leave here because this is a very wonderful country. It's a huge country with all the conditions of developing prosperity, improving the conditions of society. So, with these words, I would like to conclude saying what we do. What should we do? How should we prepare ourselves for an environment such as this in the pandemic? I attribute this case. I've made some comparisons here with two other cases that we experienced in the last 30 years, which have very similar characteristics. The first one is the fall of the Berlin Wall. And then we have 2011. These might seem very disconnected, but these are events in history, in the world history. Nobody was capable of foreseeing these events. Secondly, effects. It impacted all human lives all over the planet. The fall of the Berlin Wall closed geopolitical situation, changed this geopolitical scenario in the world. In 2011, nobody could forecast this. It completely changed international security. Nobody traveled anymore without going through all kinds of investigations to combat terrorism. And now the pandemic, nobody was capable of foreseeing its dimensions and the effects it will have. They will be linked to the agenda of food safety and uh, linked to health. So the first line of the international agenda will be the concern we're going to have with microorganisms, virus, bacteria, the quality of what we consume, and quality of health. We're going to have this because of the possibility of having other pandemics. So we're going to have to confront this with wisdom. Brazilian people will know how to do this. So, what do we have to do? We have to wake up in the morning. We have to take care of our family, our health. those people that have work, we have to certainly be very grateful for this work and try to make this as best as possible, the best work possible, like we're doing today. Give, honoring the companies, if it's a company, if it's a service, if it's industry or autonomous work, doesn't matter. We have to give prestige to this. We have to make this the best activity possible. Apply, um, invest in technology, and we have to be very courageous also. Thirdly, we have to help as much as we can those people that don't have the conditions of working, because there will be a lot of people, a lot of Brazilian people who will spend some months and some years maybe in a less privileged situation. So we have to be very careful here. We have to do this by paying attention to politics, electing good candidates, people committed to public politics, the austerity of public resources, the good uses of taxes that we pay, and a commitment and involvement in the activities, in political representation activities. This is the fundamental message we have to take away with us for these challenges, to face these challenges. So I would like to conclude my presentation. Newton, Diego, if you have any questions or any observation to make, I certainly will be very happy in participating and answering your questions. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much, Christian. Wonderful scenario here. You talk about several challenges we have at a Brazilian level, and also concern with the image that the foreign investor or those that want to make a partnership with a Brazilian company. This moment, we don't have control of the news, and it's important to show you the reality, the robustness, and the resilience that we have, and the natural wealth here that we have specifically in our sector, which is paper and pulp. So I'm going to talk to you. You still have some time. So one of the questions that is here, what is the economic impact in Brazil in case there is a second coronavirus wave, vis-a-vis the other countries that are going to more mature economies? Well, for this first experience, I think that Brazil should differentiate itself from other countries, as has been done in the last months. We receive a lot of information asking for comparisons with Sweden, Italy, Spain, Belgium, United Kingdom, Germany, Korea. I think these are wrong comparisons. Brazil, there are several countries in one country, several different regions with different profiles. What happens in São Paulo today is completely different what happens in Minas Gerais or Ceará, and what's happening in Manaus. So we have to know how to evaluate the country according to its characteristics. This is the first point. Secondly, we should compare our performance with countries such as India, China, Pakistan, Iran. These are countries that have other types of structure and society limitations, economic limitations. So Brazil cannot consider $3 trillion for one day of the other, like United States did. We won't have this capacity. And Brazil has already done a recent exercise. For example, it injected public resources to confront the pandemic, and this had to be done. There's nothing else to do to avoid a curve of contamination. So, in order to extend the curve, there was we did social isolation, and public resources was injected in the lives of millions of Brazilian people. And this came from the issue of debt. Brazil, in order to economize with the Social Security reform, which took 30 years to be voted, it was voted last year, and where it guaranteed an economy 800 billion reais in 10 years. Brazil has already spent 800 billion reais in April, May, and June because of the pandemic. The economy we were going to do, we had to spend because of the pandemic. So, what are the challenges of Brazil with regards to other countries? We have no other conditions to take decisions taken by other countries. Unfortunately, our decision has to be the best one, which is to begin an opening, recoup economy, and also believe that there will not be a second wave, because if there is, there will be no conditions, no public safe, there will be no public resources to be able to cover millions of lives that need income to eat. So this is a very different situation from other countries in the world. So first, I want to believe that there will be no second wave here. There is, the reaction of the state cannot be the same as was in the first one, because there's no resources for this. The risk that Brazil already has come to indebtedness with regards to the GDP, 100%, with this, which will result from the pandemic. Our debt with regards to the GDP 10 years ago was 55% of the GDP, which is the average level for developing countries. Countries with 90, 100% indebtedness are very wealthy countries. Brazil has 100%, Brazil 85%, Germany 85%, 100, 120%. Brazil will come to 100% without being a wealthy country. Brazil did not enrich in these years, become richer. So debts have to come from another category, another level. Economy has to continue working. Obviously, with all caution, you have the risk group, people above 60 years old, social distancing, hygienic conditions, all hygienic things that have to be done. However, it is not possible to maintain a fixed isolation for one more round. So this is my opinion, and this is not sustainable so that people can live in acceptable lives and be able to have dignity, because you have the issue of food. 55% of budget in food goes to of Brazilian families goes to food. If people don't have income, they will not eat in Brazil. So this is what we're talking about. It's different than European people, American and Japanese people. So we have to analyze things differently, because when we see comparison in WhatsApp, we can't think about that. Thank you very much, Christian. I will continue with you. So here we have a question which addresses the environmental part. How do you see environmental demand with regards to the preservation of forests? And what are the actions that you think is important with regards to this? Actions that should be done. I will begin with forests, because we are in a paper and pulp environment here, and there is one aspect that this sector is constantly communicating, and even so, society has difficulties in knowing about. 100% of paper and pulp produced in Brazil and exported to the world comes from planted forests. Nobody falls a tree from any type of forest to produce paper and pulp. Many people don't know this. There is non-governmental, NGOs communication appealing for this, saying that we're falling all the forests, with falling forests here. But we have to be able to show the data and facts, to show Brazilian people and the world that agribusiness is not responsible for the eventual destruction of natural resources in Brazil. It is not soy, corn, orange, coffee, sugarcane, cotton. None of these have any effect on the occupation of forests. The problem here is the illegal extraction of timber and cattle grazing, because here, cattle raising rather. So here, we're going through a lot of tension all over the world with regards to how Brazil deals with the sustainability and environment. Brazil has a sustainability agenda. Those people that know the forest code, this was a law that was passed in 2017. The forest code is the occupation of land use in Brazil. It's highly restrictive in terms of the alteration of Brazilian nature. It is the most restrictive law in the world in terms of the preservation of the environment. And still, we're accused of being the main people responsible for the destruction of nature in the world. We have very interesting projects with regards to cattle and farming, with farming activities in Brazilian forests. And we are all completely being accused with regards to the use of products in Brazil. And this is not true. Today, I'm part of an institution that addresses this theme, the use of defensives, biodefensives, seeds. We are accused of being the greatest user of defensives in the world, in the agrotoxic world. And this is not true either. So we are in sixth place here with regards to the use per hectare, because you have to evaluate this according to the use per hectare. So if you see the gross number, obviously Brazil is in first place because it's a country that has 2 or 3 harvests a year. Other countries only have 1 harvest a year. So these are countries that, so this is the kind of information that I'm showing you. And for us, it's obvious. It is ignored by all those people that want to blame Brazil for the destruction of the environment and the accusation of not being a sustainable world. Brazil has problems. Obviously, it does. You know, there is destruction of forests. Yes, it's true. But what one does in this country with regards to the preservation of the environment is absolutely ignored by the international agenda and by Brazilian people too, oftentimes. We have to say what is right and what is wrong. Brazil does a lot of things right. The whole agricultural activity, 95% is not linked to environment. Rural producer is the most interested person in remaining with water basins, legal reservations, the protection of reservoirs. He knows the importance this has so that we can have the springs and everything that is necessary to have land in order and production, a highly productive production. And this is going to be increasingly part of our agenda. It is part of the paper and pulp and Ibema agenda. And Brazil has now to be able to communicate this to the world. It's going to be a huge challenge. But still, we're losing at the moment. We are losing in terms of our capacity to convince society, the Brazilian society and international society. You know, we want to convince them that we have a very competent, sustainable agenda. Thank you very much, Christian. Now I'm going to address other themes with regards to the product. I will come back with you with regards to another question that has to do with our neighboring countries. We have a lot of people in Paraguay, Argentina, and Bolivia. So now I would just show you some other aspect with regards to products and Ibema's actions. Julio, there is a question here that talks about the volume of exportation. I myself could answer this, but I think it's good to give you the floor to answer this, and I will add to it. They're asking, what is the exportation volume of the GC1 paperboard today by Ibema, and what are our projections here? I think it can show us a macro view here, and I can add to this afterwards. Okay. Today, as you had commented before, our main exportation product is Supera GC2. So our volume is not very expressive today. But why do we believe that it has this very little representative share. It's because of its competitiveness and quality it had vis-a-vis the main global players. It was a paperboard that worked very well. Speciala worked very well in the Brazilian market. It was in an average performance category, but abroad it didn't work. So we have an expectation of growing here. That's why we're talking about the global market. And our expectation, our exportation expectation, we're not being limited today. We have been in the last years operating with 85, 90% of our total productive capacity. We've done a series of investments in rural competitiveness to challenge our nominal capacity of production. The internal market continues being very important for our business and will continue being. But with everything we've been doing, we believe in terms of the investments we've been doing, when we get to 90, 95% of capacity, this will be the moment we would discuss possible increase in capacity, mergers and acquisitions process, vis-a-vis the potential of investments we have. I wouldn't have a volume limitation here. We still have a large road to take. And I believe that with this standard of paperboard we're launching, the success will be short term. We believe we will more than triple or quadruple our sales here in this line. And also, I would like to use the situation here to transmit you a message that I believe I always take to our foreign clients here. We're very close to serving 18 countries. We have seen a huge growth in the last years and also a restlessness, a common restlessness of the market with regards to the Brazilian player. A seasonal politics, something that is not so consistent in terms of entrance and exit of the exploitation market. I think this is an important forum to say. Firstly, according to the dynamics we have in terms of volume at Ibema, what we export does not affect what we have in the national market, which is essential. Second, when Ibema decides to export, this is a plan that is structured. We do not, Ibema will not do something as an adventure just in order to, with dollar. Ibema has a consistent profile, a regular profile in terms of supply here in the import and exportation market. Here has to be 35% of our volume. And we have an internal need here when we talk about dollar here for some products. This new GC1 Supera White, just as Supera already is, it's in a new category. It will be a weapon that we have so that we can internationalize our brand even more and establish Ibema's name as being one of the greatest world players in terms of paperboard. Huge quality in terms of stiffness and performance in the market. I would also like to add to this, it is very clear for everybody that this product is not being launched. It hasn't been launched 3 months ago, you know. This is, so we had a product that was developed, as Fernando mentioned. We've been working on this for 1 year. And what makes us increasingly competitive in terms of this regularity that we have with exportation is all the advances we've had in terms of costs. To be able to, we were able to produce a very good paperboard, very competitive in terms of the main players abroad. And this is a market that will give us profitability the non-profitability is what leads an oscillation between performance abroad, and then you withdraw the product, and then you concentrate in the internal market. So what I want to say to you is tell you that our strategy is to remain regular in these markets we've been trying to export to. Now I will ask a question which makes sense, which will go to Newton. I think, say, we're being very congratulated, and Christian is being hugely congratulated for his presentation too. Newton, I want to know if Ibema felt the reflexes of the drop 18.8% of industrial products production mentioned today. We certainly felt this. We had a first quarter that was relatively good. March was relatively good for us. But April and May, we felt a 20% reduction in line with what has been communicated by media in Brazil. In the next months, we don't like to do a lot of forecasts. We're working every week, reviewing volume, industrial capacity, but we don't see a lot of differences in the next months. I think recovery should be slow. Will be slow. Okay, thank you. Sandri, we received some technical questions with regards to the product. Some talk about the gain in stiffness, whether this will whether this will be able to reduce grammage. Yes, but they're also asking in terms of service, color, or other elements, how is Supera White different than the Speciala here? So I think for those of you that know, it's important to say that this product will be produced. So tell us a little bit about the differentiations that R&D sees between Supera White and Ibera. The main focus of the product is stiffness and performance, which is the main drive that we have in order to reduce grammage and amount of material necessary. Because if you need 10 tons for something, for a service, all of this will depend on the grammage relation, which will be 9 tons. So this is the objective of this project. For this, the challenge was to maintain the characteristics, smoothness, whiteness, in both sides of the paperboard. So the whole thing is very similar to the Speciala. There's very little difference. But this is the challenge, to increase stiffness and maintain the characteristics. The normal trend is for these characteristics to worsen, these traits. So you have to be more aggressive with regards to raw material, and you end up hindering the paper. For example, the machine that we have, we were able to increase stiffness, maintaining the characteristics of the products that we have today. So certainly it can be very quickly substituted, because it's very difficult. Every project is one project. We have to test everything, but I am sure that we are going to have success. We're going to go through all of this process, and certainly Superior will substitute the current Speciala with the gains in grammage that is being mentioned here. Thank you very much, Sandri. So the last news, we had 250 people watching us. There are many companies together here watching us. So all of this information is very important. With regards to the homologation process of this migration, you will receive these samples, format 4, and then parting from the launch date, the 6th on Friday, we have materials of volume in standard format, Brazilian standard, 67 by 113. And together with the Ibema consultant, you will be able to talk about, you will be able to see how to work with regards to all these samples and logistics. To close, we have another 4 minutes to close here. We have a very interesting question. I would like to know how you evaluate the economic recoup of the neighboring countries that depend on commercial activities with Brazil. We have, as I said, we have an important participation with neighboring countries. And obviously, there is a concern, Argentina, Paraguay, which are commercial partners of Brazil. Well, our circumstances here, geographic circumstances, is increasingly heterogeneous in terms of situation. For example, you see Argentina. I'm not happy to say this. I think that Argentina is going to go through a very difficult moment. Again, I think the current government has position in terms of fiscal austerity, political positioning that already has an effect on the Argentinian capacity of recovering its development. Argentina will go through a very, very difficult moments. Paraguay is doing very well. It's very curious to see what's happening in Paraguay in terms of the Brazilian recurrence. And it has, the tax regime is very simple. The population is young. It's, in terms of literacy, it is better than the average. So Paraguay is a country that offers good opportunities. Uruguay, although it is a less pungent country when compared to Paraguay, I think there was a relevant change in government. The profile would be more liberal for the country. Peru, in spite of the instability, political and parliamentary instability, the Peruvian politics gave signs that it is alive. And then you have Colombia. From all of them, together with Chile, these are the two countries that present the best capacity to confront challenges in the modern world. There are government programs, at least economic programs, which are certainly more adequate to promote prosperity. And then you have the Venezuelan case, which is a universal tragedy. I can't see Venezuela finding a way out. I think the best thing one can do there is to avoid civil war. I can't see the Venezuelan recovery. Venezuela is a large consumer of Brazilian products. The Brazilian export in the 90s, Brazilian was one of the greatest commercial partners of the country. So I think the effect on Brazilian exportations, specifically with regard to industrialized products, was huge. But there is a variation here. Bolivia, I don't know if it's important for your business, but it is a less pungent country. But it is very stable although the political orientation is a little more exotic, but the economy is stable. It has gas and oil. Oil had a shocking impact, but now it's coming back. $40 a barrel. and it's beginning to stabilize itself again. So it depends on the country. In general, Latin America continues having huge heterogeneousness in terms of scenarios and opportunities. But there are markets, and Brazil always has chances of occupying new markets in Brazil. And it's not very much done here in agriculture. Only in agriculture did we see a huge uh, growth and in terms of Paraguay and Bolivia, in terms of soy and corn. And there's a huge effect in the growth of these countries. But I don't think we can have a homogeneous response for so many different scenarios in our continent. Thank you very much. And to keep to our time and not extend ourselves, we received a lot of questions here at the end. And even more questions for Christian. If we answer all the questions, we'll go all the way to tomorrow. I think in case Newton or somebody else wants to make a final consideration, there were several questions asking about the advantages and disadvantages comparing Supera White and Speciala. Just to summarize here, it has a better performance. It allows for better printing area because you go from a higher grammage to a lower grammage. This generates yield. And I think there is one aspect here which is environmental. We have to consider this. Many companies have the objective of being in line with the objections of the UN, the Millennium goals, reduce the amount of residue and packaging. And when you do this migration, in terms of weight, you're allowing for a reduction. Newton, Julio, Sandri, Christian, you have the floor for your final conclusions, considerations. Well, I would like to thank for the presence of everybody. What you said, what I said with regards to portfolio, we certainly go after reduction with the generation of solids where we work with virgin fiber, and we have space for recycled fiber for paperboard. Although there is a small increase of grammage here, but for our main product, 50% are all the parts that are going back to production. And here you use only half of the formulation of virgin fiber. So this is some of the challenges we have, which is also to face the international scenario. So, and also our commercial team is at your full disposal to help you do this transition from Speciala to Supera White, and also with the end users. Thank you very much and have a very good day, everybody. I would like to say that R&D is turned to these challenges in society, the evolutions of society and the paperboard. Count with our work, count with our team, our R&D team. You can certainly count on the company as a whole. We're working very much, we're together with regards to all these demands. We're very happy in being challenged with regards to new projects. So count on our work here. We're chasing after these new challenges. Thank you very much, everybody, for your attention. Christian? And I would like to thank Christian's participation. Certainly was contributed a lot to our lives. All the questions that came to you was just huge. You know, your thematic, what you said became very clear to everybody, was very accessible for everybody to understand. And, you know, you showed how robust our country is, and we have to continue with this. Thank you very much, Christian. We have another 30 seconds just to say a few final words. Thank you very much. I would like to greet the CEO and all the directors, all of you. I would like to say that Ibema is doing the right thing. He has to continue launching products. You are certainly congratulate you for this new product, Supera, right? This is the right thing to do. Export, continue working, and transmit this entrepreneurial spirit to be able to face all the adversities. All for everybody. This is the spirit. There are many people going through very difficult situations, but this is the kind of event that encourages everybody. We have to continue firm to recoup activities. I would like to congratulate all of you. Your segment, your sector is together with agribusiness. And we're very lucky to be able to have very intelligent people in the country. We're very lucky to have technology, sun, land, water. We have to make the best of all of these opportunities. We have to continue. Let's not concern ourselves with all the politics, because the other side is where the solutions are. Thank you very much, Christian. Last few words, and then we will conclude this live. First, I would like to congratulate Diego for the organization. Everything was it was wonderfully elaborated. The whole sequence, wonderful. Congratulations, Julio and Christian, for the objectivity and his sincerity with regards to the everything. And he said everything. He didn't have to use any swear words for this, but he was very sincere about the situation in Brazil. I would like to thank everybody's presence, and I will launch Julio and Diego a challenge, and Sandri. Since why the answer, why not launch the product? Since it was so well answered, why not launch a new product? Well, we have one, which is Naturali, but I'm not going to talk too much about that so as not to ruin the surprises. They want to kill me here. I'm giving a spoiler here, but thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. Oh, all the spoilers. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. I would like to thank you all for the participation, and it's a huge pleasure.